Hello and welcome back to the Cars.co.za YouTube channel. I'm David Taylor, and in this video review we've got the battle for which three-row Bakkie-based diesel-powered SUV should you buy. We've got everyone's favorite here, the Toyota Fortuner, and that's going up against the Isuzu MU-X Onyx, the facelifted version. Now, before we get into specifics like engine, space, features, value for money, cost of ownership, and so much more, let me just remind you that Cars.co.za is not just a YouTube channel. We also have 82,000 vehicles for sale. There's a few thousand Fortuners to choose from. There's a few hundred Isuzu MU-Xs. Max? MU-Xs? Anyways, music.
Cars.co.za, Cars.co.za. Let's find what moves you.
So what exactly has changed when it comes to the Isuzu MU-X Onyx engine? Jeez, that's a lot, isn't it? Right, 3-litre turbocharged diesel, 4-cylinder, 140 kilowatts, 450 newton meters, 6-speed auto. In terms of the absolute figures, Isuzu hasn't supplied a claimed 0 to 100, which is great for me because then it's like time to find out. And on the way to the shoot this morning, I went to my local testing strip, plugged the Draggy in, which is what I use to test all the vehicles, and I got a 10.61 to 100. Now, my metric for success is always if you're under 10 seconds, you're seen as a faster car, and the Isuzu feels lumbering and it's not the most energetic in terms of outright acceleration. Of course, once you're rolling and the in gear is, see, there's a nice surge when you put your foot down. I've got about 70% throttle going. The gearbox is very slushy and smooth. It's an automatic and there is some power there. Now, in comparison to the GR Sport, I would say the GR from Toyota is a little bit more energetic. Now, when it comes to on-road dynamics, things like the Isuzu MU-X, Toyota Fortuner, Ford Everest, and so on, they're on a ladder frame chassis. So you sacrifice on-road comfort in favor of off-road articulation, because these vehicles are designed to go everywhere. So when it comes to some corners like this one, there is quite a bit of body roll and it starts to pick up a little bit of the ruts and whatever, especially over the rear axle. And we have the same problem with Bakkies. I mean, if there's no weight over the rear axle in the load bin, the car tends to shimmy a bit. But I think this is a fair trade-off because you know what? People are buying 3-row ladder frame Bakkie-based SUVs because they want to go everywhere. They may not go everywhere all the time, but it's reassuring to know that it can. Another thing to consider with these big Bakkie-based SUVs is the cost of ownership, and I'm going to talk about the fuel consumption. Isuzu claims 7.6 liters per 100, and for what it's worth, we've had this car for some time, and 8.6 liters per 100 from this 3-litre. And there's an 80-litre fuel tank. So it's nice to know if you want to go on those really long extended road trips, things like the Isuzu MU-X and the Fortuner and all of the other vehicles are going to go the distance. One thing I've noticed about the Isuzu MU-X, and yes, critics will say that these vehicles are not the most refined. And you know what? I appreciate mechanical simplicity. Like, these things are designed to be pretty straightforward, fuss-free, uncomplicated. And refinements and comforts have been slightly edged out in favor of durability. But for what it's worth, I think Isuzu has enhanced the on-road refinements of the MU-X facelift. And I'm finding this Onyx pretty quiet. Now, before we get into product specifics and do the head-to-head, I mean, this is a proper UFC 3-row 7-seat Bakkie-based SUV fighting championship. If there was a belt for it, well, we're going to try to decide which one gets the win. It's going to be a tough one. But let's talk about the segment here. How many manufacturers are making 3-row Bakkie-based SUVs? So obviously today's contenders, the Toyota Fortuner GR Sport. We've got the flagship version of that. We've got the Isuzu MU-X facelift in the Onyx XT flagship trim. What else can you get for your money? Well, if you've got a little bit more extra cash, I suggest also looking at the Ford Everest range. That is a really competent car. It is a Cars Awards winner, so that's definitely worth looking at. You can also look at things like the Mitsubishi Pajero Sport. And now you don't see many of them on the road, and I find this really confusing because it's a pretty competent product and it's just had an update in 2025. So also consider that. And finally, if you want to be different and you're prepared to take some bravery pills, because for me it's an unproven product, you can look at things like the GWM Tank 500. Now Jacob did a review of that compared to the Prado, and bucky-based SUV, hybrid that is really, really impressive. But for me, the jury's still out on its longevity. That motor it's a hybrid and it's too new, and I want to see what that thing's going to be like with 50,000 Ks. Now in this segment, and we've checked all the sales figures, and you can thank our data specialist guru, Ryan Boubert. I don't think he has a social life. I think he just looks at Excel documents all day long. And he's kindly shared the first half sales data for vehicles in this class. And guys, it's Fortuner, and it's not even close. If I look at the data, hold on, I'm just going to pull over for this. First half of 2025, 4,200 units. I mean, that is mad. I think in my next life, I want to come back as a Toyota dealer because clearly they're doing something right. The next best 7-seater, Ford Everest, 1,700 units. And the MU-X, just 711 units sold in the first half of 2025. So that's food for thought. And I find that quite impressive. And when you think about it, let's be real here, guys. The Fortuner is not a brand new product. Sure, it's had model range enhancements over the years, but fundamentally, that is a 9-10-year-old product. And yes, they added GRS, and that's the vehicle we've got here going up against this today. But there's something about that Toyota Fortuner. Yes, it's not new, but it just keeps on selling. So with that industry context in mind, it's time to drive the Toyota Fortuner GR Sport. Right behind the wheel of the Toyota Fortuner, and this specific model is the GRS, Gazoo Racing Sport. And yes, it's a bit of an oxymoron because you think Gazoo Racing and then you realize that you're in this massive 7-seater, 3-row bucky-based SUV. Like, there's nothing racing about it. It's just big, and I'll give it its credit, it also looks good. But when you've got those sort of taglines, it's also about the numbers. So the engine is a 2.8 litre turbo diesel, the GD series, and in GRS trim, that's this one, 165 kilowatts, 550 newton meters, and a good old 6-speed automatic is on duty. Now, like Isuzu, Toyota doesn't supply a 0 to 100 claimed figure. So of course, I went out to go test it, and my Draghi confirmed a 9.22 to 100. And now in comparison to the Isuzu, the GRS Fortuner has the edge. It's a little bit sprightlier, it's a little bit more energetic, and critically, it has driving modes. The only driving modes the Isuzu MU-X has is on and off. This one has Eco, Normal, and Sport. So I'm going to put it into Sport, and okay, the gearbox kicked down quite quickly, and off we go. And I can say right away that GRS in-gear performance, it feels a little bit more lively. And okay, I should not be going around this corner this quickly. This is the problem with bucky-based SUVs. The roll and top heaviness is quite apparent. This is not a GR Yaris, Dave. Why are you driving like this? Why am I like this? Anyways, back to Fortuner GRS. I think the range has needed something with a bit more image, a bit more macho-ness. And unfortunately, you only get it in two colors. You only get black and white. But some of the Toyota palette would have been really interesting. In terms of ride quality, well, let me just assume my position and put it back into Eco. There's no need to use all the diesel up. Yeah. So there's also much of a muchness, if I'm being brutally honest. They both drive equally well. Pitch them into some corners, they roll about a bit. And I would say after driving the Fortuner now, I would say its engine feels a little bit more modern, a little bit more refined, a little less gruff. And yes, they're both turbo diesels of older generation, both the GD series and the Isuzu's 3-litre. They've been around for some time. But when it comes to refinement, I would say the GR Sport just has the edge when it comes to the engine quality. Ride quality, yep, this is on some high profiles, all-terrains. I'm happy with this. Again, like the Isuzu, I feel like I could sit here for 800 kilometers and just enjoy myself. But when it comes to fuel economy, it's interesting to compare the two. Yes, the Isuzu has the fractionally bigger capacity motor, 3 liters, as opposed to this one's 2.8. And when you compare the claim figures, this one is said to consume 8.4, which is fractionally more than the Isuzu's 7.6 liters per 100. I'm going to just flick through the trip computer here. Previous reset was 10 liters per 100. So there you go, there's some food for thought. 80 liter tanks, 10 liters per 100, you can do the maths in terms of endurance range. So yes, the Fortuner may be getting on in its years, but it's still remarkably competent to drive. The on-road refinement is good, and I think the GRS's extra performance makes it a little bit more desirable than what the Isuzu MU-X Onyx can offer. Now we've done this section in the Isuzu MU-X and the rain has started up again, and that was fine. Time for the GR Sport. Now, as a reminder, this is not a comprehensive, thorough off-road test. I've driven these things on launch and we did some serious off-roading there. This is more for the average consumer. Should you encounter a sudden rainstorm and your road has washed away and you need to get out of there. So this is not crazy low range stuff. This is just some articulations. A bit of the road is washed away, hypothetically. And this is now a test of how accessible the off-road systems are. For what it's worth, Toyota claims a ground clearance of 279 millimeters, plus the GRS is supplied with all-terrain tires. So let's go. Put the vehicle in neutral, engage high, engage drive. Okay, I'm not going to use a diff lock, and I'm just going to tiptoe my way out of this. Okay, we're going to crawl through this one. Let's get the line right. There's a lot of rain and a lot of mud. Okay, that was pretty straightforward and uneventful. Excellent. Rejoin the main road. Whack it into two-wheel drive, and we're clear. So, yep, Fortuner, pretty easy to switch between the off-road modes, and we're on our way. The cabin of the Isuzu MU-X Onyx. Now remember, that is the facelift, so there have been some changes. And one of the biggest changes has been the inclusion of this bigger, better resolution, crisper infotainment screen. It's so much nicer. There's actually some cool details and graphics, like a tire pressure sensors, my angles for 4x4. General ambiance is nice. There's a digital instrument cluster. I like that. Build quality, some soft touch plastics over here. It doesn't feel as reassuringly solid as the Toyota, but it's got some redeeming qualities, like little things as well. Like when I open up the window, there's a little bit of movement from the door, which I find is a bit weird. Like maybe the door's a bit thin or the window opening isn't that great. But yeah, general ambience, first impressions, yep, this is all right. It's pretty ergonomic, it's pretty functional. Other build quality things I like are the red stitching on the panels. This is nice. Annoyingly, it has the gloss plastic on the gearbox surrounds. Now this vehicle, it's had a bit of an interesting life thus far, 12,000 Ks in the media fleet, and I already see like quite a few little scratches over here, and that's really not great. I mean, I always wonder how long a vehicle is going to last with 100,000 Ks and what this is going to look like. In summary, I think the facelift has added some much needed modernization to the segment, and things like heated seats and wireless Android Auto and a digital display will bring many fans to this vehicle. But let's see how it compares to the Fortuner. I really like what the GR Sport trim brings to the Fortuner range. I mean, yes, the Fortuner is not a new car by any stretch of the imagination, but in the GR Sportier trim, you get some really nice touches. I love the red stitching, I love the little GR badge. These little sporty seats are so nice, and yeah, general ambience is pretty good. Like I said, it is dated and it shows. I mean, things like the infotainment system, this is a very, very old school look. It's functional, yes, but in comparison to other rivals, like take for example the Ford Everest with that beautiful high-tech crisp graphics, this feels positively antiquated in comparison. Now in comparison to the Isuzu MU-X, which had its cheap and scratchy gloss black plastic, I like this this material instead. I mean, yes, it's probably not carbon fiber. It's probably just a carbon fiber look sticker on gloss plastic. But for me, it's much nicer. It doesn't look as cheap and nasty, and I suspect it'll be longer wearing as well. The Fortuner covers the basics. I really like the JBL sound system. I think it adds a nice premium touch of audio quality, but this really upsets me. Guys, we're in 2025. Look at the quality of this reverse camera. It feels like one of those really old Samsung E250s from the early 2000s. I mean, guys, you're paying 999,000 Rand and you have this resolution. It's not great. And yes, I know I'm grumbling about the quality of a infotainment system on what's essentially a 10-year-old car. And truth be told, there is an all-new Fortuner coming in the next 18 months. Now, in the battle of Fortuner GRS versus Isuzu MU-X, I think the MU-X just takes the lead in terms of standard features. Yes, it has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, but you have to plug your phone in. I also would have liked some heated seats because it's bloody cold today, and some comfort convenience features would have been lacquer. Isuzu MU-X Onyx has heated seats. The first of the second row seat tests. Right, Fortuner GRS. Do I have the knee room? Yes, I do. Do I have the headroom? It's a little on the tight size. I mean, I can actually smash my head into the roof here. Okay, so that's... Remember, I am a taller guy, so your average human is probably going to be a little bit lower. Can I recline the seat? Must be a switch here somewhere. Yes, I can. Oh, that's nice. There we go. Can I imagine myself on a long journey? Yeah, that's not bad. But I will say that because of the third row of seats, I can't recline the seat as much as I would have liked. So that's worth noting. Let's bring that back up here. In terms of convenience features, I've noticed I've got 2 shopping bag hooks, so I can put my snacks over here. I've got 2 USB ports. Those are both USB-C. That's great. There's a tiny little storage thing there. I don't know what you could put there. Maybe you could fill some like endearments, put some sweets in there. And impressively, there's an AC 220 volt, 100 watts inverter built into the vehicle. So in theory, I could actually plug my laptop and charge it and work in the back here, but that's awful. And another great feature, the Fortuner GRS interior, at the back, I have my own climate control, so I can adjust my fan strength and direction of the vent. There we go. It feels a bit flimsy though. Another thing I've noticed, and it actually feels like I'm perched upwards looking down on the front passengers. It's like these seats are a little bit higher up in comparison to the front row. That's quite interesting. Let's go test out the Isuzu MU-X's seats. The rear seats of the Isuzu MU-X. Right, let's assume my taller than average seating position. As you can see, knee room is pretty good. I've got room there. Headroom, yeah, I can get probably 2 fingers. Yeah, that's cool. But for me, one of the best things about the Isuzu's MU-X rear seats is the fact that I can recline them. So I can be upright and serious, or I can go all the way back and recline for a long trip. And actually, this looks like a great place to hang out. But let's go back to normal service and let's talk about the comfort and convenience features in the back here. Right, I've got this very cool little shopping bag holder, so I can hang my bag of road trip put style snacks, and you know that's your biltong and so on. I've got a nice little storage spot here. I don't quite think it's deep enough for a modern smartphone. And of course, 2 USB-C charging ports, which are nice. And also, these are illuminated, so you can fumble in the dark. Another convenience feature, I have a roof-mounted aircon vent, so I can actually adjust how strong I want the aircon, and I've got my own little roof-mounted AC vent there. So that's pretty cool. But you're going to ask me, which is the better rear seat setup? And I'm going to say the Isuzu MU-X. The reason being is that these seats feel more natural, like a more natural seating position. In the Fortuner, I felt like I was sitting up and looking down on the people in front of me, and it didn't feel right. Plus, I've got a bit more comfort and convenience features. So in terms of second row practicality and comfort, I think the Isuzu edges this one out. Right, it's time to see which is the more practical of the two. Is it going to be the Isuzu MU-X Onyx, the facelift, or the Toyota GR Sport? Let's start our test with the Isuzu MU-X. Both cars have got motorized tailgates. Yep, there we go, right. We've got both budget cooler boxes today because massive boots. There's 4. That's 8, 9, 10, 11 budget cooler boxes. Now, when it comes to the third row of seats, the Isuzu, the third row of seats folds flat in. So then you've got the option of 5 seats plus massive boots. In the Fortuner, however, you'll see how different things are. And now it's time to test the Fortuner's boot space. It too has an automated tailgate, very convenient, seeing as my hands are full. Let's put in our cooler boxes. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 can go there. 8, I'm going to say 9, 10. The problem is, you see, it's these third row of seats. Now, every other manufacturer in this segment stores them flat down into the boot. Toyota has gone unorthodox and gone, we're going to stow these up, which is then impinged on the boot space. So this is a bit of a conundrum for me because, yes, you'll notice that the Fortuner boot is a little bit deeper. This sits a bit higher, but now I'm going, my storage boot space is impacted, and this is a little bit frustrating. But it's time for a verdict, and you're going to ask, who wins this boot test? Is it this one or that one? And I'm going to lean towards the Isuzu MU-X, just purely because of the third row of seats being stowed in a pretty sensible, logical way. I don't like fighting with those seats. I mean, I almost broke my fingers trying to deploy that third row of seats. But as you can see as well, the Toyota redeems itself because the boot floor is lower. This aperture is a little bit bigger, making loading cargo a little bit easier. This boot is a little bit higher. So in that case, I still want to pick the MU-X. I think it is the more practical, sensible, and logical boot. And on a lighter note, let's have an impromptu race between Isuzu and Toyota's boot closing mechanisms. On 3, 1, 2, 3. Never mind. Right, we finally reached the end of the video where I need to give a verdict. And let me be honest for a second. This is nowhere near a one-sided battle. Both of these vehicles are really, really good. After spending the day driving the Fortuner GRS, I understand why it sells on the numbers it does. As for the Isuzu MU-X, in Onyx spec, it is so much better. It desperately needed the facelift. It was starting to feel really, really outdated. Now, instead of just going, oh, the Isuzu is one or the Fortuner is one, I need to break this down. And I've done a little table and trying to scientifically analyze each car based on its abilities. Right, engine performance, I'm giving that to the Fortuner. More power, more torque, slightly smaller engine. It feels a little bit more refined. Right, 1 to the Fortuner. 4x4 ability. Now, based on the specs, these two are so closely matched. Both have low range, both have differential lock, but I'm edging this one straight to the Fortuner purely based on the all-terrain tires, which are sold as standard. No offense to the Onyx, it's really good, but those low profiles are not going to cut it when you're beating around the bush. Practicality, second row of space. I'm giving this win to the Isuzu. It just feels a little bit more spacious in there, and I'm blaming the wheelbase for this. It's a little bit longer than the Fortuner. Still, in terms of specifications, both cars offer convenience features like USB chargers and roof-mounted climate control, but I just feel like I've got a bit more room in the MU-X. Plus, its rear seats feel a little bit lower down and more realistic than the elevated seating position in the Fortuner. Third row practicality, I'm giving this one easy to the Isuzu because I cannot deal with the faff of those third row of seats in the Fortuner. If you're a Fortuner owner, please tell me if these things work for you because I really struggle. Safety, both of these vehicles cover the basics, but I'm giving the win to the Isuzu here purely because it has an extra airbag plus tire pressure sensors plus a 360-degree camera. Cabin appearance is a tricky one because it's down to subjectivity, design, and whatever. I'm going to say this is a tie. Sure, the modern Isuzu really looks good, but the Toyota GRS with its sporty touches redeems itself. Those are some of the nicest seats I've seen. On the infotainment side, I'm going to give the win to the Isuzu. Those graphics, I mean, sure, they're not cutting edge, but they're a lot better than the antiquated system of the Fortuner. Also, things like wireless CarPlay and Android Auto are standard in the Isuzu. In the Fortuner, you still have to plug your phone in. Build quality, this is a tough one because both vehicles have wins and losses here. Some elements are cheap feeling, some elements are feeling plush. And this is the case for the Isuzu as well. Like little things like when I'm winding the window down and the door is moving. Like guys, that is not great. So I'm calling this one a tie. Now, when it comes to critical things like the money, Fortuner, 999,000 Rand. MU-X, 1,026,000. So for 27,000 Rand more, you can get yourself into an Isuzu MU-X. Warranty and after sales, and yes, people like to say that Toyota after sales is legendary, and to a degree, yes it is. But a 3-year, 100,000 kilometer warranty for the Fortuner, as opposed to the 5-year, 120,000 kilometer warranty, the Isuzu wins on the warranty stakes. When it comes to service plan, I'm going to say this is a tie because the Isuzu has a 5-year 90,000K service plan. The Toyota has a 9 services 90,000K service plan. But that's enough of the data. You're sitting there going, Dave, you need to make up your mind. And for me, it's a pretty straightforward choice. I'm going to take the Isuzu MU-X for a number of reasons. Yes, I think the third row of seats is far more logical and far more sensible. The infotainment system is a little bit more modern. I love my wireless Android Auto. And also, yes, design is subjective, but come on guys, that Isuzu MU-X, especially in this Igo Grey, is a really good looking car. Look, if you're a Toyota Fortuner fan, terribly sorry, but look, on the bright side, you don't need to worry too long because I suspect we're going to have an all-new generation Fortuner in South Africa in the next 18 months. And I hope you've enjoyed this video. Remember, Cars.co.za is not just a YouTube channel. If you want to buy cars, we're a great place to buy one. 82,000 vehicles for sale. I reckon we could probably fill this dam with 82,000 vehicles. That's how many there are. I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Okay, bye.
Let's find what moves you. Cars.co.za.
Hello, now I have been asked to tell you about Cars.co.za because I work here. Now on the site right now, you will find 72,000 cars to choose from, which is quite a lot. And yes, most of them are used cars. However, a significant number, many of them, an exact number of which I don't know and head office didn't tell me, but a lot of them are brand new cars and demos. So whether you are looking for a used car, a new car, or a demo, you'll find what you're looking for on Cars.co.za. Check out our mobile site, our desktop site, and our fantastic free app in whichever app store you use.